Hi everybody, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make broccoli salad. I'm going to start by putting a big pot of water on and add our salt, about a tablespoon of salt. Okay, we're going to start with the dressing. Okay, this is going to be a warm dressing. And we're going to start out with our garlic. This is a great way to use up garlic that is not quite as fresh as you would like it to be. There's no reason to waste it. This is a great way to use it up. I'm going to put the garlic cloves in the small pot. You can start with anywhere from 5 to 8 cloves of garlic. If you love garlic, put more in. If you're not crazy about it, put less. Peeling the garlic can get a little tedious, but since there's not a whole lot in this recipe, you should be all right with just using your small paring knife to peel the garlic. You take the garlic cloves off the head of garlic, and then you could, if you wanted to, pour some boiling water over them, loosen the skins. But like I said, there's only a few here. That kind of makes a bigger mess than you really need to have. But if you take your knife and you just tap the top of the garlic clove, it will break the skin, which does make it easier to get it off. And because the garlic is not as fresh as a new head of garlic, the skin does come off a little bit easier because it is getting drier. I think if you wanted to use garlic that is already chopped up that you can find in the jar, that would be fine too. But I do find that sometimes that garlic can be on the bitter side. So I do like to use fresh garlic, even when there's a lot. And that's when you can pour some boiling water over the garlic cloves to loosen the skins. You can use, they have little tubes that are made out of rubber, and you can put the garlic cloves in the tubes and roll them in there, and that helps break the skin off. You can also put the cloves in a bowl and put another bowl on top of it and shake the hell out of them. I've never tried that one, but I have seen it, and that looks like it might work pretty good. And once all the garlic's done, the next thing we're going to put in is the olive oil. And it calls for half a cup of olive oil. I do use the extra virgin olive oil in all my cooking. I just like it. You can't have too many things in your kitchen. So I just use the extra virgin olive oil across the board when I'm cooking. And then comes the red pepper flakes. And it calls for a teaspoon and a half. If you don't like spicy food, put a little less in. You could go with just a teaspoon. And you want to start this on high. And this is something that you want to keep an eye on. Garlic will brown very quickly out of nowhere. So keep an eye on it. The first thing you will find is you will start to smell it. And you have to be careful with this. So we're going to get the broccoli started. And you just want to, I like to have bite-sized pieces. You want them to sort of be all the same size because you don't want them to cook unevenly. If you have bigger pieces, they won't get as soft. If you have smaller pieces, they get too soft. So you want all the broccoli pieces to be relatively the same size. Recipe, it calls for 2 pounds of broccoli florets. So I bought what they call bunches. I'm using 2 bunches. You can weigh it out if you'd like. It doesn't have to be that exact. Like I said, you want to try to get your pieces basically all the same size. If you like a little more stem, you can leave some of the stems on there a little bit. But I prefer like a half and half mix. And while you're cutting up your broccoli, it's nice to just keep an eye on your dressing. Like I said, at some point you will start to smell the garlic. And you can also keep an eye on your water, which should be getting to the point where there are little bubbles in it. This is a nice recipe timing-wise because it gives you enough time to make your dressing and cut up the broccoli while you're waiting for your water to boil. And at some point here, you're going to want to turn your dressing down a little bit now, maybe to medium high off of high. You will start to hear it start to sizzle a little bit. I want to give the pot a little bit of a swirl just to make sure things are okay. And you can take a look at the garlic and see if it's getting too brown. If it's getting too brown at this point, you want to take it off the heat because the garlic will continue to cook. But you should be all right now. Turn it down just a little bit. Let it continue cooking. Okay, we're going to keep going with the broccoli. We're almost done. Keeping an eye on that garlic. You have to be careful with garlic. There is nothing worse than burnt garlic. It has a horrible flavor. It's bitter. And there's nothing you can do with it other than start over again, which you don't want to do. So you just want to keep an eye on it. If it does start to brown too quickly, like I said, you can take it off the heat. And then if it's still getting darker and darker, you can just take the garlic out of the oil. Remember, the oil's hot. It's going to continue to cook the garlic for quite a while. So that's a good, safe way. If you want to just take it off, take the garlic out. The objective is to have the garlic soft enough so you can smash it. And if you'll notice, they are starting to brown just a little. You should be able to smell it at this point. It should smell delicious. So we're going to take it off the burner so it can continue to cook at a lower temperature. And we're just waiting for our water to get to almost a boil is fine. It doesn't have to be a rolling boil. And once you're ready to put your broccoli in, you can pour it in the water carefully. And then you can give it a good stir. Make sure everything gets submerged under the water. Now the broccoli is going to cook for about 5 minutes. This will depend on how crunchy you like your broccoli. And now we can get started on the dressing. This is where you'll find out if you cooked your garlic enough. It should be very easy to smash. You want to make sure that you have decent sized pieces, but you don't want them too big. You don't want to get a mouthful of garlic. And so I like to smash it up. While you're doing this, just glance over at your broccoli, make sure it's okay. And you can get a knife to cut up the garlic if it doesn't smash enough. Sometimes if it browns a little bit too much, it's a little tough. So you can cut it up instead of smashing it with the fork. Don't forget to keep checking your broccoli. You don't want it to boil over. And then you want to give it a little stir. Just make sure everything's cooking evenly. At this point, you're working basically on preference when it comes to how well done you want your broccoli. I like mine to have a little bit of crunch left to it. Now get a little piece out and check it. and put the knife through it. If it goes through real easy, then it's done. If there's a little resistance, it's still a little, will still be a little crunchy. You might have to check it a couple of times. And that's why we have the cookie sheet, because we want to spread it out on the cookie sheet, because it will continue to cook once you take it out of the pot. Now, the original recipe calls to put the broccoli in a ice bath, which I don't like to use because it makes it very wet. And then when you put the dressing on it, it can dilute the dressing a little bit too much. So that's why I like to take it directly out of the water and put it on the tray. And what happens as it starts to cool off, it dries off too. So you want to try to drain as much of the water off of it as you can when you're taking it out of the pot. You want to try to get as much water off of it before you even put it on the tray. Your broccoli should still have a nice bright green color to it. Now, if you like your broccoli on the softer side, that green color will start to get a little bit darker as it cooks more. You want to make sure that it's all spread out, not stacked on top of each other. So you want the broccoli to cool off. It takes the dressing better when it's cooled off a little bit more. Okay, we want to get our bowl, put our broccoli in the bowl. Like I said, you want it cooled off so you can handle it. And this way it'll be dried off enough too so it won't dilute the dressing. And before we put our dressing on, we're going to put the soy sauce on. Takes anywhere from 3 to 4 tablespoons, depending on what you like. Now, if you want to, you can take the garlic out of the oil. If you're afraid that there's a little too much oil for your liking, you can take the garlic out first. Then you can spread the oil over a little bit at a time. You don't have to put it on all at once. And then just see how much you like. You may want a little bit less. And you want to give it a good stir. Make sure everything's evenly coated. And you want to give it a try. See how you like it. If you want to add anything else to it at this point, you can. I like to store this in the refrigerator, in an airtight container. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you'll give it a try. Let me know how you do.